Mayor and Board. So back in May, the village awarded a contract to White & Company to master plan the development of 4 of our parks, to master plan those parks. That will serve as a blueprint for these parks for the future. That includes Centennial Park West, Schuessler Park, and the 3rd phase of John Humphrey Complex. Critical to the planning of this master plan process is engagement from the community. So that includes the residents, our athletic organizations that use our facilities and fields, and of course village staff and board members. Thus far, we have hosted a number of engagement sessions. This started in July with the master plan team in July 12th. On August 12th, we met with Boys OYA, Girls OYA, the Orland Park Soccer Club, Girls Sparks, and Chicago Fire to get engagement from them or input from them. On August 24th, we met with our Recreation Advisory Board, who also provided input to White & Company. On August 30th, we held an in-person community engagement session. So we reached out to over 1,000 people that live close to these 4 parks, as well as sent an email to over 7,000 residents and publicized this on social media and on our website. On September 1st, we did the same with a Zoom community session. In addition to that, we are conducting a statistically random survey with residents. That survey went out last week. The same survey will be made available in general to all residents beginning sometime this week. The future steps of the master plan and the schedule are summarized here. So in September through October, White & Company will present survey results and the community meeting summary to the committee of the whole. That should happen in October here. They then will finalize a design program with the master plan team before moving forward with concepts. You can see in October through January, they will begin the design process of 3 concepts, 1 for each park. They will then review that with the master plan team. We will again invite residents to participate, athletic organizations, the Recreation Advisory Board. Based on that input, we'll refine those concepts again, or White & Company will refine those concepts and then represent those to the master plan team. They will then again make some minor adjustments before presenting that to the board. Some of the things you can see here from the engagement sessions. So there's one of these for each of the parks. I won't go through all of it, but some of the highlights. So turf fields was a big one that was presented by from the community and everyone that was participated. Improvements to the marina. We do some things out in the lake. They'd like to see some improvement there. In Centennial Park, the north parcel is undeveloped, so some development there. Potentially adding some courts in Centennial Park. Those could be lighted courts, could be pickleball and or tennis. Some additional lake amenities you can see there, paddleboard. The soccer fields are well used, so we never have enough soccer fields, and the gold mouths take quite a beating. So flexible and lighted soccer fields, not all the fields are lighted, would be a nice addition there. Some of the other ones you can see there on the right, some additional ideas and amenities. This is Centennial Park West. Sorry for that bleed off the page. So that is where we're currently holding the Centennial Park West concert series. So adding a permanent stage, more restrooms, some suggestions to hold graduations out there, to hold all village special events there in the future potentially. So Taste of Orland Park, concerts in the park, some of those kinds of things out there. It is a hilly site, so there was some input on sledding hills, access to the pond out there through fishing piers, some permanent shade structures with picnic shelters, cross-country skiing, and even a playground. There is a playground close by there, but just something for kids to do close to the event venue. Schuessler Park, again, we heard a lot about lighted turf fields, so that could be soccer, football, lacrosse, probably multi-purpose type of fields. Full-size baseball field, which would attract older age groups, potentially scouting groups. An ADA accessible baseball field. So that had been talked about some time ago, and so that's still part of the plan. Each group that we met with actually had brought that forward as a priority. An ADA accessible playground and park, again, we have one at Kevin Hertz Park at Centennial Park. This could be a larger, more improved, fully accessed playground park. Over on the right side, you can see paths and playgrounds also ADA fully accessible. The sledding hill is pretty popular there, so continuing to find a way to use that sledding hill to take advantage of the pond there. We know we have flooding problems in that park, so improvements with the stormwater management. Again, an opportunity for courts over there. We have a couple tennis courts that are a bit defunct because of the water challenges in that area. Some shade, potential skate park or pickleball courts, and then again some additional amenities listed on the right side there. At John Humphrey Complex, we've already completed excuse me, two phases of improvement there. So a third phase could potentially include playground, which would give children something to do when their siblings are playing in games. Some new lighting. The lighting in that park is dated and really needs improvement, and some fields aren't lighted. The Irwin building really doesn't serve any purpose right now. Some additional ideas: a splash pad, some native gardens, potentially some cross-country courses, batting cages for pregame warm-up. So that came up actually with Centennial Park and John Humphrey Complex for teams as they're preparing for a game to be able to do warm-ups. The ADA accessible playground or baseball field also came up for this park as well, so that was highlighted here. High Point Fields, we utilize the High Point Fields pretty regularly, so developing those fields and fencing them, potentially adding lights is a possibility that was discussed. Some more garden type of amenities, shade structures, and again, a potential of pickleball courts in that facility as well.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? I have a couple questions for you, Ray. So this kind of regards John Humphrey a little bit, but others as well, because it's come up recently. Do we have an agreement to maintain the parks at District 135 in exchange for programming them and using them?
We do. We maintain all their parks.
And that's a 5-year agreement, and it's been in place for decades, though, correct?
It has been in place for decades. I don't know the current term.
Yeah, the contract was recently renewed in April of 2020 for a 5-year term.
Okay, great. It's been in place for as long as anyone can remember, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and I just want to make sure that I want to get this correct as well. We did offer, as I recall, we offered to upgrade and basically do phase 3 of the John Humphrey already, all of the ball fields, which are all, and phase 3 is all on District 135 property. But what we asked in exchange for that was a long-term agreement, was a longer agreement, correct?
That would be correct.
Because we don't want to spend, it was about $1 million, is that correct?
It is.
So we don't want to spend $1 million and just have 5-year renewals. We wanted to ensure that, how long? 20, was it 20 that we had?
We originally sought 20 years and later offered 15, but then we came into a time crunch to get the fields prepped for the spring. So.
Okay, and we don't just do John Humphrey, we also maintain the fields at Centennial and Gerling and Liberty and Prairie and all those other schools, correct?
There's 6 other places we do those for.
So we maintain all the fields for them and
we maintain
program them
them
as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great use, it's a great intergovernmental cooperation, and it's great use for our residents. Okay.
And we would like to expand, sorry to interrupt,
Right.
we would like to expand over at High Point, but it is dependent on the intergovernmental agreement being long-term.
Yeah, so we were going to fix District 135 fields, which their students could enjoy at a cost of about $1 million, which obviously all the residents could enjoy too, in exchange for the maintenance agreement that the village and District 135 have had in place for decades, just solidifying that for decades. Correct? All right. So, we get to use the fields when the schools aren't using them because they still have priority, correct? And we are responsible for programming them, and in exchange we maintain and include, it includes trash pickup and mowing and field preparation, all that stuff, right?
All of that.
Lining, all
Everything.
I just want to make sure.
We also do some minor repairs at the fields. They can't always get to them, and because we do use them frequently, we do some minor repairs.
Okay, because I think about that and all the other resources the village expends in the partnership with the schools. We heard of everything that we do, that our police department does, and while there's nothing that compels us to do so, we also collect a lot of fees for District 135 in the schools, correct? Impact fees? Correct. Okay. So these are all, these exchanges and cooperation is all good for all the students of Orland Park and all the residents of Orland Park, and it's good government. I honestly, because this, has happened over the last couple of years, I really don't understand District 135's position on this, particularly at a time when budget shortfalls were so high. I mean, they've attempted to cut honors programs, they've attempted to cut band programs and other extracurricular activities, and we know that they're facing a crap load of busing issues, which we heard about earlier, which we've tried to help them solve. So it seems like intergovernmental cooperation with the village would be in the best interest of them and the families and children of Orland Park. I don't really understand it, but they must have some reason that I'm not aware of. However, because of that, at this point, I do think that the John Humphrey Fields on District 135 should be our last priority when we plan these out. Because if the district doesn't want to cooperate with us, there's no point in planning to put our money in that first, right? Well, it was a priority to get it done in the past, so I think we're going to have to slide that back at this point unless something changes, because they don't appear to be interested in that longer-term agreement. I also really want to take the time to point out a few things that I think are big priorities in this that we should make sure are up near the front of our plans for our phasing and reconstruction. A few years ago, a young man named Zach Stack brought an idea for an all-abilities baseball field and tried to raise enough money to build it, and you saw that those came up a lot today. We know the fundraising fell well short of what was needed, in spite of a lot of effort from Zach and others, and they're to be commended for that effort. What is important is that the idea itself did not fall short. So I want to thank Zach for bringing that to us. I know that in our discussions we've prioritized putting an all-abilities field at either John Humphrey Complex or in the open space by West Avenue or Schuessler Park or at Centennial. At whatever location we choose, we should also put that all-abilities playground in as well. The all-abilities field, like I said, was a great idea, and we will prioritize its inclusion as well as the all-abilities playground in our master plan. It would be a great addition to our special recreation program, which is by far the largest and best in the region. Additionally, I want to ensure that we have an area that is being designed for football first. It is inconceivable to me that when Centennial Park was built, football was not considered at all back in early 1990s. I think everyone here knows that it makes little sense to tear up baseball fields for football activities. I think if Bo was here, he would tell you that baseball fields are built very differently than turf fields, and I know that Ray's nodding his head. So turf field sports like lacrosse, soccer, and football can handle a lot more wear and tear than a baseball field can. So for that reason, we need to make sure that we design an area for football first that can also be used for soccer and lacrosse when football is not in season. As you pointed out, we can always use more soccer fields, so that will just help us. And that doesn't mean to trade out soccer fields for that. That means an additional field. Since District 230 in Sandburg has allowed the Pioneers to use its fields for games, these should be built with practice in mind first, and only as a backup for games if needed in the case where there's a scheduling conflict at Sandburg. This ensures that football has a place of its own designed around its use, as opposed to it being a secondary use always shoehorned into something. And then those fields will have a secondary use for something else. Okay. Another priority is Centennial Park West and building some permanency at that location, including a stage and electricity. This park was designed, and I quote here, to be Ravinia South. We've spent millions of dollars building Centennial Park West in the mid-2000s. It's high time we actually put it to use. Once we put in permanent features, we can host more events there more regularly and eliminate the very high costs associated with renting the stage, the fencing, etc. I see Ray nodding his head again.
A lot of costs there.
And the final priority I want to talk about is the field complex that we have been contemplating for a few years. This may not be, or this may be able to fit in the area that's undeveloped next to Centennial Park, over there between Centennial Park and the the Northwestern Palos Health Facility. Based on a study, it appeared that a complex with 8 full-size turf high school baseball fields would be the best option economically. Full-size and turf, because then they can also be used for soccer and lacrosse. So this would provide 8 additional soccer fields, which, as you pointed out, we sorely need. Plus, they'd be turf, so they could be used even in inclement weather or when the weather's,